All right, grasshoppers. Thursday morning, 10 o'clock, everywhere around the world and all other universes. The clocks all get to the same, so that this show can be watched by everybody around millions of universes. How is everybody doing? It's a glorious day. Nice weather. Haven't been to Costco in a while. After we're done the show, got to go to Costco, got to go to the bank. Some problems with my huge pension checks that I get from our pension is kind of that's our fault. But we didn't really fight for much of a pension. Bunch of dummies back then with that. Probably won't live to be old enough to get a pension anyway. So, by going to Costco, I'm going to do a little video on Costco too. I'm going to say a little to Norris. So hopefully he's in there. Everybody else. Lorraine, how you doing? You magical creature. Happy birthday the other day too, Lorraine. 25 years old. Deb. All right, Deb, the magical Deb Anderson. So the book is completed. We're just editing it now. So quite the process. Deb did a fantastic job finishing it off. She's got obviously her family and her own career. She took time to finish the book off. So Lorraine, what, 25, right? That's your age? Yeah. Okay. Mr. Haynes, how you doing there, brother? Good to see you again from Chicago. Susan Brooks. Oh, yeah. What's Susan Brooks going to do now if the book gets done? It is done. So not if it gets done, but now it is done. Susan should be happy. It's not just the fact that the Rangers won, but man, they're playing hard too. Like Panarin, that hit on TJ Oshie. That stuff didn't happen. And I'm glad to see Panarin doing that because it shows he's much more into it. Excuse me. Yesterday, I know I do act like a 12-year-old quite a bit of the time. Well, let's start the clock anyway. So again, 15 to 20 minutes before Tracy Marie gets on. That's her. She's watching right now. She'll probably change it today because I said that. But that's what her grand entrance time is, right? So sit there, all the build up, and everybody's like, "Where's Tracy? Where's Tracy?" And then the 15 to 20 minute mark, she'll pop on. 55th birthday, William. Happy birthday, you magical creature. You getting younger. Susan. What is that? I'll believe it when I see it. But I do like the way I don't know how much of it is Rempe. I don't know. You can't really tell, right? It's hard to quantify that, but he certainly changes the personality of the team when he's out there. And he's a target too. He's being pretty smart actually, because they're watching him. The other team's watching him. Excuse me, the referees are watching him. So, but he's playing pretty smart. Even the penalty he got there was a game one. I didn't think that was much of a penalty. But again, the way they're playing, again, not just winning, but playing like the way Panarin hit TJ Oshie, sticking together. You gotta, if you're going to win, man, talent is one thing, but you got to have that grit. You look at the teams that have won. That it's always this way. It's always it has been this way. You have to have that physical component, that mental toughness, right? So actually, speaking of mental toughness, we had I listen to Boomer every morning, Boomer Esiason and Gio Giannatti on the Fan here in New York, and they're on CBS Sports on TV, and give Boomer a hard time. So I was they were just talking about Ritz crackers. So I sent him a text. I said, Boomer, Ritz crackers are like poison, banned in a lot of countries, preservatives and stuff in them. So, and he's making fun of me, like I'm the, what do you call me, the ingredient guy or something? Yeah, actually, he was very complimentary. He did say, "Listen, that looks good." He's up at 4 o'clock, which is inaccurate. It's 3:30, but that's close. And then he had my big buddy, new buddy, Stefan Matteau on the show. Kind of, because it's been, so what's that? 30 years since they won the cup, right? And Stefan Matteau played such a big role in that. He's really Stefan. I say this because Stefan has had no problem saying this publicly, but he's really come a long way in his public persona too. He had some anxiety issues. He's very open to talk about it, and has really worked on it, done a lot of stuff. So he's a fantastic speaker now, very funny. I think I've told the story. We were in Vegas. We were going up to the elevator to the suite, and all the guys were in there. It was Karen Langdon, myself, Adam Graves, all the wives, everything in there, Nick Fatile, and others. And so it's kind of packed. And these two Ranger fans, the husband and wife, got on. They saw who it was, and you tell how nervous they were. And so the doors had not opened or not closed yet. And Stefan said to the guy, he says, "Listen, you're going to have to get off." And he said it a real serious way. And the poor husband and wife, they were devastated. You could tell, like, "Okay, we got to get off." Stefan Matteau tells we got to get off. And he waited for a second, then he grabbed him and pulled him back. And he said, "I'm just kidding you." And it was pretty funny. He did it really well, too, because he was really serious when he first said it to him. And then he waited for a second, then he pulled it back in. So it was pretty cool. Because I thought he was joking, but then I'm looking at him like he acted really serious. I'm like, you can't do that. But and he didn't. He wouldn't do that. He's a great guy, like a real gentleman. Fantastic. Got a fantastic wife, Sue, and she's very intelligent too. She's really helped him a lot, I think, with his public persona and how he views himself. Love, yeah, man. You know what? He's one of those guys, and I think he didn't realize how good of a player he was. There's a lot of guys act like that. Sometimes when you look back at it now, you're like, oh God, I was a better player than I gave myself credit for. So, yeah, always meeting with fans, and yep. Yeah, you know what, Susan? I'm glad you said that. I'm pretty proud of our Ranger alumni. You guys are really, I think we all realize how important the Rangers are to the fans and how important it is that when we interact with the fans, that we really, give it our best effort to show them. Hey, and the great thing about hockey, guys, is too, and again, we're proud of this, is that we don't view ourselves as anything special. To be honest with you, we're just lucky that we're good at playing hockey, but really we're no different than anybody else. So, again, most guys act like that too. So, good to see. So reading the paper today, guy, if you're married, do not walk with your wife up on mountains. Guy fell. He's walking with his wife, and they say he fell 300 feet to his demise. I wonder if she pushed him or not. Just saying, I don't know. But maybe something. Here's one of my pet peeves. I got two good friends of mine. So obviously, Ron Greshner had his open heart surgery. Got another friend that had triple bypass surgery. I think he had about 2 years ago. And in both cases, and Greshner, I think, is turning the corner on this. They don't teach them about their diets. So they do the surgery, then they send them back out in the world, and they go ahead and eat the same stuff they were eating before, which caused the problems. So this, it's just, like this one guy, a friend of mine, beautiful wife, she's a great cook, Italian family. So she eats all like the Italian foods, like breaded chicken cutlets, put in the fryer, fried grease. So it's an education thing. So when I talk to him about diets and everything, he just never educated himself. So that's one of my my pet peeves right now. The doctors, part of the surgery process is the rehab. So when you get a knee surgery, whatever you do rehab, so you get a heart surgery, they should be teaching about diets. Right? Just my Gresh, tough man. Yes, it's funny. He fought more later in his career. When once got married to Carol, he fought more than he did earlier in his career. He wasn't a fighter at all, and all of a sudden, he was a good fighter too. He goes down Sato. It's always nice when former Rangers come back to us. Yes, he's pretty, isn't he? Isn't he a pretty guy? Man, he spends more time on his hair. I should talk. I get no hair to spend time on. So at the car wash today, some elderly woman had really nice hair and everything like that. So I came up to her and I said, I'm really serious too. I said, I really got a problem with you right now. I never met her before. I think she's looking at me like, what? I said, you got all that beautiful hair and I got nothing. So, here's the doggies. The doggies. So this new couple that moved in, it's an elderly couple, so I've got to be careful. But the guy, he walks this yappy little white dog that I got a little confrontation with the other day. And he'll be walking and he just stop and the dog will start barking at somebody. Like there's a neighbor out there walking her son today. He's like 3 years old. And he just stands there and looks at this woman and the dog's yapping away. He doesn't do anything to try to stop the dog and he's staring at them. Like it's like they're doing something wrong. It's his world. So we're going to have some, we'll be an educator. We'll educate. Let him know that's, who do you think the prettiest alumni guy is? Well, it's got to be Henrik Lundqvist, right? Yeah, no, he's an alumni. But aside from him, Del Zotto's right up there, right? He's got the hair going. How about the two Ferraro brothers? Is it Peter and I can't remember the other, what's his name? They spend some time in their hair too. And again, who am I to talk, right? Because I don't even have that option. Yeah, who's the prettiest? So it's Henrik, Del Zotto. Brian Boyle's a pretty handsome man, isn't he? Let me see. Mr. Haynes, how does your retirement work? How many years do you need to be vested? Great question. I think it goes by games. It was like 120 games. I'm pretty sure it was. And then you have the option to start taking it at 55, I believe, which I did. You can, if you don't take it right away, then it builds up. But it's nothing really that big of a thing. So it's like like we said, the kicker, Sean Landeta, Gresh's buddy. I think he makes somewhere in $175,000 a year from his pension, and they've renegotiated that too, which our Players Association doesn't do that for us. And there's some debate whether they were required to do it for us or not. But again, it's all different. And again, we've talked before that the league and the Players Association both put in $3 million a year each, so a total of $6 million into the alumni for an additional pension. But it's nice that they do that. They don't have to do it, but it's not that much. But walk by the old gentleman's house and wearing watch with a bull. Well, I already got the one woman that's mad at me because I come out at 3:53 and she likes to keep her window open. And I think I told you the story. She came, never met her before. You got to give her credit for a set of kahunas. I never met her before. Comes and knocks on my door one day and tells me that I need to change that habit because I'm interfering with her life. And I said, I tried to be a gentleman and everything. I'm not doing anything wrong. And I don't even know you. And you come and knock on my door. So courage. Give people credit for courage. Henrik's class. Oh, yeah. And you know what the thing is too, every time you see him, like sometimes you see him in a golf tournament, he may not have the full suit on, but he still got dress pants and dress shirt on and everything, and the hair is perfect and the beard's always the same, trimmed up and everything. So yeah, you gotta give him credit. I remember on top of this too, Duguay was like that when I still is like that. And I always used to laugh at him, like, what are you doing? And you look like the hair and all that kind of stuff. But then I see now, for me, it's like, my brand is more like the healthy thing. So I make sure I'm aware, like the skin and all that kind of stuff. I never paid attention to my skin before. Now, drinking enough water, cold showers, moisturize the skin. First started doing it, it's like, oh, Tom, what are you doing? But we're not getting any younger. I don't know, a buddy of mine, Rocky D'Antona, passed away. And I think I mentioned it the other day too, but I actually just found out that he passed away about 2 weeks ago. He passed away. He was very good friends with James Patrick. James stayed friends with him. So Rocky was a local guy. He's a landscaper. Lived with his mother and father in White Plains. And he used to start hanging out at the pub with us. And we just kind of adopted him. And very funny guy. He used to give the wives rides to games and stuff. So, but he always get tickets. But he was a good guy. He wasn't just a hanger on. He was actually a very funny guy, good friend. Sadly passed away at 77 years old. In the end, he just didn't take a whole lot of care of himself. Again, he didn't work on his diet or anything. It's amazing watching. I guess we're getting old, right? So you see people now, friends, and starting to deteriorate health-wise and not knowing. I think it's that they just don't know what they should be doing. All right, what do we got here? Hold on, Danny Erickson, got to get yours here. Tom spent so much time with his hair. Got angry with him and waved goodbye. Yes, it did. It's actually still there. Like the sides and the back there's hair. It's fairly thick. The top is like again, I said this for a while there. It become a peninsula. My sons used to say that I had a peninsula on the top of my head, and then it turned into an island. And I thought, okay, that's enough. Now it's like, I'm glad I don't have it now. And I drive down the highway with the window open and not definitely worry too much. I see my rearview mirror fell off. I got to get that back on. And so I once in a while I looked in the mirror. I said, why am I looking in the mirror? But first of all, it's not there. It really doesn't matter. Oh, thank you, Mimsy. Thank you very much. Dick and the Good Grades influence the NFL players who change their retirement plans. Oh, cool. Yeah, we really don't have that. And I remember when I was a player, and even when I was an agent, I thought the Players Association, this is technically the right way to look at it too, excuse me, was there for the current players. Really didn't think about the alumni. Now you're an alumni guy, and you think, well, can somebody fight for us? But, and I should I'd be careful. Glenn Healy does fight for us for medical care and for the older guys and everything. And I think he was in place when they started putting $3 million a year in. So Glenn does good. I want to be careful of that. He does do a good job fighting for us, but there's not a whole lot of leverage so that you can appeal to the NHL and the Players Association, but you can't. The negotiation is just like, what are you going to do? What leverage do you have? Negotiation. All right. Felt like I think I started talking about. So I know I act like a 12-year-old, but yesterday I definitely felt like a 12-year-old. I had hiccups. Woke up with the hiccups and couldn't get rid of it. I tried everything. It was like sipping cold water. They say looking up in the like opening up your throat. So by looking up in the sky or whatever it is, and a whole bunch of different stuff people are saying. People say like hold your hand over your mouth and your nose. Pieces of the CO2, I think, going into your body. That's supposed to stop nothing. Just I woke up this morning, it was gone. But one more bros again on Tuesday. Watching Nika Brass was a terrific player, but his trade has turned out to be, yeah, I know. And there's a little bit of luck to that, but still, I think it was Jeff Gordon had made that trade. Because I don't know if anybody really thought that Zibanejad was going to turn out to be the player that he is now. But again, maybe Jeff did know that. Kind of pulled it faster because you're right. Brassard is a good player too, but not nearly the player that Zibanejad is. Just wish he would get a little bit of what Panarin did, and get a little nasty out there. But that's not who he is, really. I don't think he's that. We listen to him talk. He's very calm, and So, all right. So we're closing in. Tracy and me will be. We're at the 15 or 16 minute mark now, so the time's coming. It's like Santa Claus is coming down the chimney, right? You're all excited, and kids are can't sleep. Not to say that Tracy, I'm not to say that you're the same shape as Santa Claus. Don't get me wrong, but you're when you come into the room, it's just like you make that large impact. When you come into the room. No, it does not, William. I think for the first year or 6 months, I think that's changed now too, but I think for the first year or 6 months after you retired, you can continue on the healthcare, and it was really good healthcare. It was dental, everything was covered. So yeah, again, one of the things when you're playing, you just take things for granted, and then all of a sudden, you don't think, okay, what's going to happen then when that's not there anymore. But again, it's what happens. It's the way we are. Let me see. Yeah. Tom, when you and Ellie, did you live there year long? Yes, we did actually. Yeah. I don't think the first year I traded the trade deadline. So that was April, whatever that, or no, March, right? So my family at the time was married, and a stepson. They were back in New York. So I went back in the summer. We then came out to LA during the summer to find a place to stay, and got everything all packed up and got ready for the season. Yeah, then stayed. Ended up again, love New York, love playing for the Rangers. But once you get to LA, it's like I said, you're outside in the morning, middle of winter, the hot tub and everything, Christmas Eve. So it's, you miss New York, but a great place to go. So yeah, really enjoyed it there. And then stayed there for a year or 2 years after I retired as well. I got in the agent business and the travel from LA up to Western Canada, where I was recruiting all the time. It was brutal. I was away from the family all the time. So we made the decision to go to Michigan because it was more centrally located. A lot of colleges around there, pro teams, minor league teams. So really cut down on my travel. And cost of living too was way different from being in New York and LA. Then all of a sudden go to Michigan, where it was probably about 20 miles north of Detroit. And place called Bloomfield Hills, Birmingham, Bloomfield Hills area, beautiful area. It's kind of like a hidden gem. It's all the automobile executives got big homes there and on lakes, and it's the weather can be a little gray, but as far as the country itself, it's a beautiful country. Again, I knew the upper part of Michigan, the UP, the Upper Peninsula, because of going to school there. But and it's beautiful up there too. Beaches are beautiful. Beaches, if you just took a picture of the beach, I should get some. And right on Lake Superior, beautiful. The water's crystal clear. Beaches are like the Bahamas or something. Problem is, summer you're laying on the beach, it's 85, 90 degrees, and then there's icebergs still floating up in Lake Superior. So a little different, but beautiful, beautiful country. Hold on. There's a sighting. There's a sighting. Well, I was right on to, right? It's at 19 minutes now. And I said 15, 20 minutes. So she's very consistent. You got to give her credit for that. But she hasn't chimed in yet. Maybe she's going to wait till after 20 minutes just to prove me wrong before she says something. Let me see here. If it wasn't Los Angeles, where would you want to be traded to? Wow. Good question. Well, remember, there was no Florida teams. There's no Dallas. It's like now if I was playing, I'd love to play in Dallas. The whole more country theme, Great question, though. Where else would I want to play? Well, part of it is you want to go to a good organization, too, where you got a chance of winning. I don't know if I'm a Vegas kind of guy. Get a good hockey team. A lot of people really, again, here they are now, 2-0 against Dallas. Dallas had a fantastic regular season. Mark Stone sits out the whole year again. They get the break on the salary cap, and now he's back in the lineup. Very, very important player for it, too. So is that 2 years in a row, or 2 out of 3 years that he's missed the whole season? Kind of, see, to me, you kind of wonder, okay, are they up to something? Like, are they faking an injury? But as a player, to miss 2 seasons, and he's a impactful player too. Like, he'd want to be out there making a difference, I would think. So I don't think he's faking some injury, but it is. And Susan and I were talking about it the other day too. We're on Messenger or something. I can't remember where it was. And Susan saying they got to change that in the CBA. And I hear you. I'm sure there's people saying it. Probably Dallas is saying it right now too. But it doesn't happen. Okay, it's happened with Kucherov twice now, with Stone. So it hasn't happened that much. I think if you start seeing it happen more, like a lot more, like if you get like 10 guys around the league that are out every year, and saving all the salary cap space, then I think they do something. But again, that has to be negotiated too with the Players Association. So good morning, Tom. I'm watching some Penguins Kings games from you down there. And yeah, man, me too. I watched that 80-81 team. I forgot how good we were, because we didn't have that great a regular season. But Trouba, as we're going to fail last year, he wouldn't have made an adjustment. Yeah. Oh, yeah. But you know what? I hear you. But that Jurglant made no bones about that. That's who he was. He didn't change the lines very much. He let them work it out for themselves. Yeah. I mean, you can't fault. I mean, he had a successful season. He went to the finals for his first year in Vegas, being that coach. Then had a good year with the Rangers. So he didn't change anything. It's just, I hear, Susan, what you're saying with that, but it's just the players have to play. Like, the coach gets way too much credit when they win. They get way too much blame when they lose. If the players don't perform, the team just didn't play hard enough last year. There's no question in the playoffs. They are a good enough team. They're showing it 2 years ago. They're showing it right now. They've come out to play in these 2 games. Now they've got to continue it. Somebody pointed out that last year they were in the exact same position where they were up 2-0 against Jersey. The difference was, though, I think they're up 2-0, but it was in New Jersey the first 2 games, I believe, right? Chicago, yeah, Chicago's a good sports town. Yes, good point, William. Yes, Chicago is a good sports town. Oh yeah, I mean, I'd like to have it sit down with him, with Stone, and say, because most guys, like, to me, to miss 2 years, again, if it's a legitimate injury, which by all accounts it is, to miss 2 years of your career, when you say play, in my case, 11, he may play 15. I still get paid, but the reason you get to the NHL is you want to play in the NHL. But again, that's why, like, when we had the lockout in 04-05, and Bob Goodenow, the head of the Players Association, was talking about taking 2 years. The reason it just was never going to last. I mean, team players weren't going to miss 2 years of their careers. In the end, he was trying to fight the salary cap, which we ended up giving into anyways. The salaries have continued to go up. Guys are making millions of dollars, and they don't like the escrow. That's part of it. But good morning, Dougie DeVito. What's happening there, brother? That'd be fantastic if Heedle comes back. Like, he was really playing well. I like him as a player. Big power forward, driving to the net. Young guy. For his case, I hope he does. But I hope he's all right. I hope they won't rush it back and make it worse. And that's the hard thing with concussions. You just never know. Let me see here. Dear, please keep the foot. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. There's going to be bad times. I do believe they'll. I mean, most teams with pride. Let's say the Rangers go win Game 3. Now if they eliminate Washington on their home ice, most teams don't let. That's the thing you don't want to. You don't want to quit. And you get teams that come back from a 3-0 deficit. But to lose, 4 games on your own home ice, so that's why I picked 5 games, because I think Washington will win one of those games. But let me see here. I picked up Coach beside her Brooks. Oh, man. Wow. Well, Craig Patrick was a fantastic coach. Really, he didn't want to coach, but he was really good. Like, he got us. He played a huge role in us in my rookie year, going to the semifinals. The way he coached, we played like such a team, and the players had to do it, but he was so instrumental in that. The way his personality, it wasn't the specifics X's and O's. It was just, that's who he was. He was all about team, and he you could feel it with him. It wasn't about him putting on a show. And he showed that in New York, and he showed it in Pittsburgh as well. So he could have just continued to coach, but he brought in Herb, and Herb's a pain in the ass. To work with him, it's Herb's way or nothing. So I give Craig credit for that. And he did the same thing in Pittsburgh, bringing in Scotty Bowman and Bob Johnson. A lot of GMs wouldn't have brought those guys in, especially both of them, because again, they're type A personalities. You feel like, okay, they're going to be after my job. But he thought that's what's going to help him win. They did it, and they won. So I think Craig's underestimated how great he was as general manager and coach. But good morning, Tom. So Nicky had his spot in the glass, dressed to the nines. Yeah, his wife dressed him now. He's not dressed in the nines. I think he's dressed in the dark. She just puts his clothes on. He's got his eyes closed. He has changed. The way he dresses is totally different. He's got the stylish shoes and all that kind of stuff. She's a very sweetheart too, but she's a strong personality. She runs a lumber company or something like that. And, which is very funny when I joke about it. I said, I would not want to work for you, because you can tell she's, again, fantastic person, but she's got to do it her way, and that's it. Be really one of the best players in there. What are you saying that who did that? You're talking about Gallant last year? How about the whining from the Toronto coach last night after the game, last 4-2? This Marchand had slew-footed to trip somebody, or I can't remember what he did. And it's such a bad luck. You just got beat. Your team got beat 4-2, and you're whining about the referee. And if you're doing it to try to get the referees to call penalties on Marchand, if that's the purpose, but just the perception that Toronto, it's just a whiny team. Like they can't get out of their own way. It's a real character issue. That team's got to. And here's the thing: if they lose again, let's say they lose in the first round or even the second round, the coach is going to get fired. Brendan Shanahan gets fired. Probably not Treleving, the GM that they brought in, because he just came in. He hasn't had a chance to. But that team really needs an attitude adjustment. They've got Marner and Matthews there. Do you make the decision? Get rid of one of those two. I think Marner's contract's up next year, I think. So one more year in his deal. I think that's it. But both players, you get a ton for them too. But now it's really stepping back and say to management, okay, we need to retool this team. That's my opinion. Again, I'm not in the locker room, but we didn't go talk about the coach, right? I did. I mentioned Craig Patrick, but let me think somebody else. I would have made coach of the one team keep it together. That was the rumor, right? That they were going to. Maybe it was more than a rumor. Let me see here. I brought in your buddy Mike Mowbray. Well, everybody makes mistakes. Was Golnick doing that? I never really. Is that why? Because again, Panarin certainly didn't play the way he's playing now in the playoffs, and I'd seen him play in the KHL in the playoffs before, and he was a real competitor. But the 2 years with Gallant, he certainly wasn't. And if that, but this guy's got to toughen up a little bit. I mean, if a coach gets on you, you gonna be a little thicker skin than that. Lafreniere, 57 points, 28, almost no power play time. He's coming on average almost a point a game since January. No power play time. Has he not got power play time? I don't. There's part of me that thinks you can't just be given something, right? You got to go and earn it. Your teammates respect you more for that. So I just, again, times are different, right? Personalities are different. So it's harder for me. I shouldn't really be comparing the way we were to the way they are now. It was me with Herb. I look back at stuff he did to me. It's like, I just didn't pay attention. So, but again, having Mike Allison on and him talking about contemplating suicide because of what Herb did to him, I really opened my eyes up. I did not know that was going on. And Mike and I could be pretty good friends too. So I'm lost in a band. That's what you're going to stick with. I haven't followed Boston that much, how good or bad those two guys are. I like it when you stick with one goaltender. It's just, but again, there's been plenty of times teams win with alternating goaltenders too. They're not playing well enough. But the players need to have confidence in the goalie. I mean, you really shouldn't change the way you play, but you need to know the goalie's going to make the save. He does look like a rat. That nose is. Oh God! Everybody says all these great things about him, but like he went through that stage there where he was licking everybody on the face. I was like, what's going on? He's a great player, leader there. He's got the C on his jersey now. just doesn't fit. Like, what? And it didn't happen just once. It's like, why would you do that? Like, if you want to get to a player, rub your glove in his face or something, but don't lick him. Jesus. Oh. Oh yeah, we talked about this the other day. I cannot recall another star player that ever happened with. It was usually almost twice as many assists as goals, as the other way around. To me, he's a fantastic, talented player, but that really says something to me that I know part of his centerman's job is distributing the puck, and he's got great players around him. I just don't like his act. He like Wayne Gretzky, he's a competitor, but I don't ever remember him trying to embarrass another player on the other team. And I saw a few times with Matthews where some guy in the other team was yapping at him, and he would go around pretending he was looking at his name tag on the back, say like, "I don't even know who you are. I'm going to look at your name tag." Okay, yeah, I can see you're trying to get to the other guy, but that makes you look worse. Like that's it. Hockey still it's changed, but hockey still have kind of this code, like it's a respect thing. Okay, you're going to do something to me, that's fine. I'm going to run your head through the boards. I'm not going to, that embarrassing thing. I mean, you guys have done it before. This isn't the first guy that's done it, but when you put all those things together, Matthews, I just don't, like, I can tell you, if I was running Toronto, I would really seriously consider trading Matthews. I know it'd be a controversial thing. You get a ton for it. You can't just give him away. You got to get a lot for him. Open up a lot of room in your cap space. But again, that's kind of a signal to the fans and the ownership that you're giving in, you're retooling, which everybody seems to do. But I mean, how many times are they going to go to the playoffs and lose in the first round? Again, they haven't lost yet, but I don't see them having that like grit, that attitude, like, it's one way or the other, we're going to win. Like when I watched that 80-81 team, I forgot all about it. But man, I watched those games, and we didn't have the most talented. We had like Dean Talifas and Jerry Gillis and Peter Wallin and Lance Nethery had come up from the minors. But the team just was like gritty. Like even like Ulf Nielsen and Anders Hedberg were supposed to be more goal scorers. Ulfie's getting in fights and hitting people and blocking shots. And I got fired up watching that team. It's first get the other Wilkerson's to play. Oh, very cool. Yeah, he looked good in a lot of places. That's the thing. The other teams be lining up for him because, I mean, from Marcus standpoint, from on the ice standpoint, there'd be no problem trading him. That's for sure. Just you better really have a plan. Like, okay, what are we doing? What's the direction of this team? What's the personality going to be like? Did you see in Salt Lake yesterday? They had the players, they were the Phoenix Coyotes or the Arizona Coyotes, come up, and they had a pep rally outside, and they said the place was just packed, right? Actually, I think they said, I saw a video where the guy was apologizing because they didn't have room for everybody. So that's good to see too. It's good for the league too that, same thing, Vegas was a question marks, like how many fans are going to come out, and that place they had a good team too, but that place is packed all the time. So you want the team to do well. And that was the thing with Arizona. There's so many mistakes made there, like where they built the building and everything. So to get to the point where they're playing in that building, Barry said it was a fantastic setting, kind of like that intimate setting, but it's just, other pro leagues, no other pro leagues have. And again, you don't blame Bettman like the NHL office. It's just the circumstances there. Let me see here. Every gets very little power. Kreider, Mika, Redman, Fox, and Trocheck on the first unit, 4 forwards with defensemen. No power, no problem. Just saying he'd have. Yep, I see what you mean. Yeah, you're not wrong, Jack. Yeah, it is a tough problem, right? I mean, you look at the guys you listed there. He could easily slide in one of those spots, but those guys are all elite players. I think Trocheck really surprised me how good. I didn't realize how good he was. Yeah, just hanging around a circle one timer. He's got 2 years left. Do you think you're hanging around for Gretzky's record? Well, yeah, he will but look what that does to the organization, right? Like you watch him playing right now. I didn't realize, it's just not the same Alex Ovechkin. And I don't blame him. He's 38 years old, played a lot of hockey. I don't know how far away he is from Gretzky. Problem is, if he keeps playing like that, he could play another 5 years and maybe not pass Gretzky. And he's not going to get younger, obviously, right? You're 38. Like if he's going to make it, he's going to have to really step up his training during the summer. And again, I'm not saying he doesn't train, but remember Zdeno Chara. I think was he in his 40s when he retired, right? And I remember reading an article about how he changed his training techniques because he needed to. He was getting older, and that's the thing I learned too. As I was getting old, I was so stubborn. I didn't want to change anything. And that's, I feel like back now, I should have. I was being told by people like Rick Wilson was a great assistant coach with the Kings. Tom, you got to change. You changed. I said, nope, this is the way I did it, and this is the way I'm going to do it. And looking back at, I mean, again, we talked where the stubbornness was the reason I made it, but I should have been, I can still be stubborn in a different way, like change my training techniques, but still have that same effort to it. So we got here. That didn't went far if it wasn't for that. Oh yeah. Really changed the team, right? Again, still a competitive team, but again, that first year, man, we pounded people. It was funny. I remember we were down 3. I watched it. I just watched it the other day. We were down 3-1 in game 2, and I'm carrying the puck down the ice, and it was Rick Chartrout, and we're friends now because we played together. But at the time, I didn't know him, and we just all knew that he could skate that well. It was like I was a speedy guy, but so I go down the left wing, and I get Gresh is making great plays, and Dave Malone was making great plays. I just went and ran over the goaltender. And rebound was laying there for dudes to put it in. I was laughing because it was just good. Seriously, Dave made a couple of fantastic plays for goals. Gresh was dangling all over the place. Vad was, smooth at the puck in the whole bit. And here comes me, like, run over the goal. It was pretty much, I just died laughing at myself because, like, okay, well, it worked, but it wasn't really smooth play. But, sounds like it's going to be a good market. Yeah. New ownership, lots of money. So I guess the deal is it sold. The Phoenix team sold for a surprise. It sold for like $1.2 million. The old owner in Phoenix is going to get $1 billion. Excuse me, $1.2 billion. Excuse me. The old owner gets $1 billion in Phoenix, and the league gets $200 million. The story is they're going to distribute it around the league. So, is this true? With Barry Bonds? Again, rumors, but there always has been rumors with Ovechkin that he uses his performance-enhancing drugs, PEDs. Oh, that was probably the best punch I've ever seen on the ice. Oh, man. Some people criticize Bubba that it's cheap, but it wasn't a cheap shot. I mean, he reached around the referee and hit him with a left. Oh, man. The Sharky went down, blood all over the place. Oh. Let me see here. According to New York Post writer and Hockey Hall of Famer Larry Brooks, Susan Yard was chastised by Coach Jim Glunt in front of the entire team for his poor play during the Blue Shirts round 7. The Devils Panarin deserved the criticism for he had no goals. Yeah, I hear you, Susan, and obviously it didn't work out, so you can say it's the wrong decision. But there's many times where coaches rip into players. Part of it is it's with a purpose, right? That a star player like Panarin, he has to hold him accountable. So everybody else says, okay, if he's going to rip into Panarin, then he's going to rip into anybody. He's holding that guy accountable. But again, you really need to know the personalities too. Panarin maybe isn't that kind of guy that can handle that stuff. There's some guys that just affects them the wrong way. They need to be handled differently. And I do think, going back to Herb Brooks, that's the one thing he knew. He knew the players well, so he could treat me some different way than he treated other people. Doesn't mean he would treat everybody the right way all the time, because obviously he wasn't. But we beat the LA Blues with physical play in the 81 playoffs. I was always disappointed we didn't play that way against the Islanders. I always felt, you know what, Jack, I got to give you credit. That's 100. But I feel the same way, especially the 80-81 season. Yeah, we were relentless. I'd use that word against LA and St. Louis. We'd have times where I remember one game with St. Louis. It might have been the deciding game, the 6th game, where we got way up, and then I made a play, tried to pass out of our zone right up the middle of the ice, got picked off, and we scored. And we were just for like 2 or 3 minutes, just forgot our game. But then we were really good at just, okay, enough, flip the switch again, get back to playing our game, and then we just chip away, and eventually, again, relentless is the big word I use. That team, and again, we were still relentless when Herb got here, but in a much different way, right? There's more speed, skill. Where with ours, like I joke around, but I watched Dean Talifas play with Ron Duguay, particularly killing penalties. And Ron Duguay's obviously, Mr. Studio 54, and Dean Talifas, I don't think he'd ever been in a bar. Very religious man, great guy. But they clicked on the ice. They were, again, just all over him and just constantly killing penalties, forechecking. You could tell that they really worked it out together, where one guy would swing in, the other guy would swing in, and taking away the puck. It was cool to watch. I hadn't really watched that much stuff, and I watching it now, because it's like 40 years ago, and I was like, wow, that's cool. Like I was really proud of playing on that team. That was a good bunch of guys, and the way we played, never quitting. Man, it was good. A lot of fun. What do we got here? what do we got here? What do we got? Utah needs a player that is recognizable off the ice. No real star players. And well, no, they did. They had Jeremy Roenick, Keith Tkachuk. So they have Oliver Ekman-Larsson, I believe. But I hear what you're saying. I don't know if, like, are you meaning that to drop people into the building? Winning does that, I think. I'm not saying you're wrong. And they will get some star players. But I'm management, I'm not saying, okay, we need to get star players to put people in the building. You win. You can see in Vegas, like they're gonna run into a few years here. They'll have to regroup. That team is getting older. Salary cap issues, all that, and they'll not always win. And then it'll affect the attendance. It always does. But especially like in a city like Toronto or Montreal, that doesn't. They're going to come no matter what. But in those places like Carolina is fantastic now, but again they'll get to a time where they're not as good, and the building will not be as full as it is now. And it's also the atmosphere too. People want to go, like going to the Garden for a playoff game. Like it's you want to see the team win, but it's also the atmosphere, man. It's unbelievable. And again, watching those old games, that's the way the Garden was way back then too, where, man, it was, we talked about where Ranger fans, I think it's all fans are like this, but I think Ranger fans are even a little bit more this way where, they live and die with the team. So when things aren't going well, like that's that St. Louis game where we were up and then we got down, you could just feel it. Even watching it on the YouTube video, the building, how it's like, oh my God, you can feel the tension, like we're going to blow this and everything. But then we started coming back again. The crowd was just like going nuts. It was cool. Okay, what do we got? Yeah, we go back to the Islanders. Yeah, they're a tough team. But we were in '84. I don't think we respected them the same way. I should be careful. We respected them, but I don't think we were like almost in the 80, 81. I thought we were almost like we doubted ourselves against them. And the 84 team, I don't think we doubted ourselves. And I had this conversation with James Patrick the other day where that was his first year. And we didn't take a backseat to those guys. The physical part, that never really bothered us. It was more, especially, like for me, watching, that was my first year in the league, and watching, Clark Gillies and Terry O'Reilly, fighting up there, the battles they had, like winning the Stanley Cup, and then all of a sudden the next year you're out there against these guys, and you're just in awe of them too much. We didn't disrespect LA or St. Louis, but we thought we'll do no better than us as long as we go play our game, and we didn't. I don't think we felt the same way about the Islanders. Nobody ever said anything like that, but just had the feeling that we didn't. I don't know if you feel like you don't belong with them as much. And again, that subsided over time. I kept playing them every year, and never drafted star players. Correct. So, but I think you go back to the Winnipeg days. I think they drafted Tkachuk there. Roenick, obviously, he was a Blackhawk first. But yeah, it's never been. But again, I wouldn't relate that to winning. I mean, you got to have good players, obviously, but like you look at, I'm trying to think of Vegas. I mean, do they have? I mean, they got Stone, Pietrangelo, Eichel's there now, but I don't know if people are coming into the building just to see those guys. My opinion is going to the building to watch the team win. They got a winning team now. Obviously, are they excited? Like Eichel makes a good play. Stone, I love watching Stone play. He's a skilled player with that little bit of a grit to him, a lot of grit to him. So, great to see Dylan Mauer back there. Showing age 32. Yeah. You know what? You're right. I liked him when he came up. I didn't feel like he got much of a shot with the team. Tough. He was a good player, but I mean, it's just that happens. I think of a guy like Dan Cleary. That was a high draft pick of Chicago, I think it was. Bounced all over the place and finally got to the Red Wings, and as a free agent, I think he went to camp with a contract and ended up winning 2 cups there and playing a big role in it too. So it's hard to see what happens. Like you got to get somebody to believe in you. I was lucky, Freddie Sherrill believed in me right away. Craig Patrick believed in me. Then Herb Brooks believed in me. So they give you your start. You keep playing. Let me see here. Look like the Islanders starting to play not to lose. Yeah, they get steamrolled. Yeah. Again, I haven't watched the Islanders that much, but how good are they? Are they really a good team? I mean, Lou Lamoriello's running the team. He's got such a good reputation. I think people just automatically assume that he's put a good team together. But again, the difference between winning and losing isn't a whole lot. So I mean, you're down in the series, but they've proven that they can stay with Carolina. You're right, they gave it up. Let's see here, Mister. I'd have to get a second mortgage before the range. Yeah, I know. That's and it's the food, it's the parking. I guess you take the train into Penn Station if you're just Long Island, but that's they get it. It is an experience too. I'll tell you. But yeah, to buy a beer or whatever. My son wanted to go a few times. He's going to buy him drinks all the time. It's like I'd have to get a mortgage too to pay for. You want to have a few cocktails? I said, no, we're going. He's making more money than I am, anyways. Now, my kids, I'm very proud of my sons. Let me see. Yeah, Rangers was lacking. Why do you say that? I don't know if. Remember, they drafted in the '80s. They drafted Brian Leach, Mike Richter, James Patrick. Bob Burke was a good player they drafted. I would not agree with that. You on that one there, Danny Erickson. But maybe you could point out some. You got to look at the draft around the league too. It's a crapshoot, man. The NFL draft is tonight, I believe, right? And Boomer was talking this morning, about how, like Zach Wilson, was a quarterback for the Jets. Everybody came in with that. He's going to be fantastic, right? Didn't turn out to be a player at all. I mean, he may down the road someplace else, but Marshawn's going to hate until he's your guy. Oh yeah, I always said that. But why? Yeah, absolutely. I hated Espo in Boston. That's why they became our guy. Oh yeah, that's 100% correct. If I hate to say it but Tom Wilson's kind of that same kind of guy too. And I know Ranger fans agree with that. But if he's playing for the Rangers, you'd love that. I mean, they love Rempe, so it's the same kind of thing, right? Lamoriello's shot. He's a has-been. Oh, Danny. I don't know about that. I don't think he's still pretty sharp. I don't think he could become a GM. I don't think he could become a has-been. I don't know how he'd lose. It's an interesting comment. Yeah, you're right there, Susan. It's well worth the money. It's a fantastic experience. Oh man, Garden. But for a lot of people, they just can't afford it. Yeah. Let me see. Peter Schaefer. Yeah, that's me. I remember them drafting Jim Malone. Well, again, you go look at the draft and you go by the rounds, and I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but like the first round, the level of success for the first round, even then, and especially now that you get 32 teams in the league. Back when I played, it's 21 teams. So by the time you get to the 31st pick in the draft, it used to be a second round draft pick. And then the second round becomes, the percentages of the guys that make it are very slim. And by the time I see people getting draft picks, like a third or fourth or fifth round draft pick, and they're all excited about it. I'm like, look at the percentages. It depends what you give up for it too, obviously. But if you're giving up a player that's on your roster and you're getting a third or fourth round draft pick, it's just the chances of that being successful it's not in your favor. It's like my marriages. Oh, goodness. Totally agree with you. 1980 had great draft, including Hall of Famers. Gagne, Dolan, yep. Sandstrom, that's what I forgot about Sandstrom too. Jan Eriksson. Oh, man. Yeah. But again, I can see where people, if they just took a look and said, okay, you drafted Jim Malone, it didn't turn out well. Yep. But every team is like that. There's lots of drafts. Or even you look at it the other way, where Mark Messier was a second round draft pick. Well, and then he says, well, that was a great pick in the second round. Well, if you knew he was going to be Mark Messier, you wouldn't have taken him in the second round. You're taking him in the first round, right? It's just the draft is, there's all these guys like Pavel Datsyuk was a 6th round draft pick. And Zetterberg was 7th round draft pick. Luke Robitaille was one of the last picks. Dave Taylor had a great career. I think he was the last player, might have been the last player picked in the draft. I can't remember, way up in the draft. Other guys never drafted. Ed Belfour was a Hall of Famer, never drafted. Marty St. Louis, was he drafted? I don't think he was. So I just think the draft is it's a fun event. And obviously you've got to have the draft, and you work with the players and develop them. The development, I think, is more important than the draft. But like there's going to be the draft tonight, the NFL draft. There's going to be guys picked in 6th or 7th round. You're going to look back 10 years from now. Tom Brady was a 6th round draft pick. So I've had other fans. Well, it's easy to say that now because they're having good luck. part of what he's had to deal with too is salary cap issues. He's had to trade away some pretty good players because of the salary cap issues that he inherited. So I'm a big fan of his, but yes. Oh, yeah. Sundstrom, Granato, yeah. Monty, DeBrusk, Messier. Yeah. Yeah. Craig Patrick, I tell you, if you really look back at his career, he was a fantastic general manager. Like things, and again, a big part of what I thought was he put his ego aside and really it was about the team. The story is, I think I've got this correct. He was criticized by management. They did not want him to take Brian Leetch. I think that's how it went. Or was it after the fact that they did take Brian Leetch? Leetch came into the office at MSG, and he was a scrawny little kid. And they was like, "What are you doing taking him?" Well, it ended up being Brian Leetch. And I think it was, I'm correct, that Craig had a kind of fight management to take Brian Leetch. He believed in him that much. See, that's the kind of stuff that's easy to just say, okay, you don't want me to take him, I won't take him. But if you're going to be a general manager, good one. This is why I think Lou Lamoriello is good too. Better ones, they'll do what they think is right. No matter what the rest of the league says, they'll do what they think is right. You've got to, as a GM. Again, you're going to get fired anyways as a GM and as a coach. The old Robbie Ftorek line for me. I'm going to get fired anyways, so I might as well go do it my way. So, if you were alone, do you think you could hunt and kill animals for food? Yep. Growing up on the farm, it's kind of cold, but leading like with cats. You know, the cats would crawl up in the engine during the winter to stay warm because we wouldn't let cats in the house. They had to stay on the outside in the barn and everything. We didn't view them as domestic animals. We viewed them, they had a job to do, and that was kill mice. So they'd crawl up into the engine, and then we'd turn the car on, the fan would hit the poor cat. And, oh, there goes Betsy or Billy or whatever it was chopped up in there. So, yeah, that wouldn't affect me at all. Sounds kind of cold. But again, the same thing with the cows. You know, one day we'd be petting Elsie in the barn, and then the next day she'd be wrapped up in the brown paper in the freezer in the basement. So, where's Elsie? I'm reading her tonight. So, yep. Again, with the draft, yeah, it's so easy. I know you go on and on about looking at players. Well, you could have drafted him. That is the draft, right? You look back in the history of, like I said, how many teams had a chance to draft Tom Brady, right? Probably one of the best athletes that's ever played. And so every team had 5 shots at him before in New England took him. And listen, New England, I don't think they ever were taking credit for that draft because you can't. If you really thought Tom Brady was going to be Tom Brady, you would have picked him in the first round, maybe the second. But Craig's room, like Jack's done the homework here. James Patrick, Gish Kratos. Yeah, look at those players. Terry Kirkner. Like Terry Kirkner. We just call him Psycho because he'd snap. Good guy. Ulf Dielson, Brian Leetch, Mike Richter, Granato. Yep. He's didn't he draft, what's his name too? Sundstrom or Sandstrom? Probably Sandstrom being that too. I go on any more range. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I thought maybe you're looking that up someplace. Yeah, you just remember him. Okay. Oh, yeah. And Craig was, man, he had a big heart too. I've told this before, but there'd be times we'd have meetings and something's going on. And he'd start crying in the meetings. He cared about the team so much. I thought it was fantastic. It just showed how much he cared. There's some guys kind of mocked him a little bit because they thought, well, general manager should be crying. And maybe you'd say that. But Mark Messier cried all the time, for God's sakes. So it really knocked his competitiveness and toughness. So, yeah. What do we got here? Jim Lojath. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you go on and on with the draft. I'm trying to think of guys. You know, again, even a bad general manager can make good draft picks. Like he picks some guy in the 3rd round, and then he ends up being a fantastic player where a lot of it is just pure luck. Like, again, developing players is very important, but especially when you're drafting an 18-year-old kid, those years from 18 to 22, and I mean, you guys know all this. When you're the development mentally and physically, you know, your drive to have, you know, you got to go through things. You know, maybe you don't have success right away, and you got to fight through it as a player. You know, how tough is the player mentally? That's why I know I beat this drum a lot, but with Matthews in Toronto, that's the thing. I'm like, okay, tremendous player, and as a scout, you look at his skill level and everything, but it's really hard to tell, like especially an 18-year-old kid when you're interviewing them. Okay, what is he going to be like at 21, 22, 23 years old? How competitive is he going to be? How much does he want to fight? How hard is he going to work when he's making $12 million a year and you give him a long-term contract? Does he want to earn the contract, or does he just kind of coast. Those things are really hard to tell. There's kind of testing. There's testing you can do, analytics, like mental analytics. Actually, an old coach of mine, college coach, has got a company that do that. A lot of teams do it, but that can be only used. You can't just rely on that testing. Again, it's part of it's a component of really getting to know the player. But man, it's I went through that when I was an agent too. It's like, you get a guy, a player, I won't mention his name, but he's a junior and he's like first round pick of Washington's tough, and I thought he was going to be like another Cam Neely. Got to the NHL and he's a great kid. He just was too nice. It was didn't play that role at all. Played the minors and really that was it. But I would have bet money on it that he was going to be a star player, like a big time, like I said, a Cam Neely kind of player, but not at all. And I think I spent a lot of time with him. His family, you get to know him and everything. Grew up in Western Canada and a farm. This tough upbringing, a little bit. Giovanni. Picked ahead of Tom Brady. Yeah. I knew Fergie through my cousin and his chief scout, Tom Savage, told him that Bossy was too soft. Yep. Yeah. I mean, that happens all the time. People misread players. And part of it is the atmosphere you bring him into as well. So maybe Bossy was a little bit soft, but then he comes in and he plays with Brian Trottier and Clark Gillies and Bob Nystrom, Gordy Lane, Bob Bourne, all these guys, under Bill Torrey and it's awful. I can't remember his name, the coach. So that's a huge part of it. It isn't just the draft. It's how you develop players now too. Old Ranger Steve Richmond is the head of player development for Chicago, I believe. He still is. And I talked to him a lot about the stuff that they do with the players. He said, bring me in to talk to the young kids next year at training camp. But it's a huge part of it. Again, you can't just draft the players and say, okay, we'll wait for you to get better. They did that back in my day. I remember I got drafted and they didn't even call me. They called my father. And after a couple of months, I called him up and they said, what am I supposed to do? And he said, get back up there and finish playing college hockey. And that was it. They didn't come and talk to me about what I need to work on or anything. That was just the way it was back then. Yep. Yeah. Isn't that true, right? Yeah. You think about, management would drive themselves nuts if they went through this process all the time. So, geez, why didn't we draft him? But the player at that time, that's probably where he deserved to go. I know for me, I was 6th round draft pick, and that's probably, I was surprised it went that high, to be honest with you. So my development after I got drafted was way better. Like my first 2 years in college, the 2 years before I got drafted compared to my last 2 years after I got drafted, huge. And again, it was me, my coach too, and my team. But it wasn't the Rangers at that time. Now it's different. They do more stuff. But we should play with him. No, Chris. Oh, do you know Chris? Good guy. Very good. Yeah. Well, that was playoff guys, right? He had a decent NHL career during the regular season, but come playoff time, he was unbelievable. So boring in late 90s with a few goals. I always blame him for showing how to players. Glad to see him goals again. Yeah, maybe in the defense, it's just you say that, and I hear you totally. But me being the defensive player, I liked that game. I didn't think goals determined whether the game was exciting or not. But that's because of how I played. But let's see, yeah, chemistry. You see, guys are successful. Yep, yes. The team, I cannot stress enough. I think more in hockey than other sports. Like I've heard Phil Simmons say that in football, coaching is more important than character, and I think it's the opposite in hockey. I think that's the character, that locker room. You talk to Mark Messier, those guys, and when they won in '94, they basically took over the team, and because they had these strong personalities, they ran the team from in the locker room. Keenan still did things, but he did things like benching Brian Leetch for play the semifinals against New Jersey. I think, but they all rallied together and say, "Screw this! We don't care what you're doing, coach. We're going to win the Stanley Cup." And that a lot of credit goes to the leadership group: Adam Graves, Mark Messier, and everybody. They built. Neil Smith had done a fantastic job of building a real character team, bringing in Craig McTavish and all these guys, Buka Boom and Kevin Lowe. Those were. They paid for it later on and down the road, but they wanted to win the cup, and that's. You can see that team. Like he purposely went out and got character guys. Steve Larmer. Yeah, Steve Larmer. Yeah, I brought him in. Yeah. Edwin Foster, no Larmer. Oh, I didn't know that story. Yeah. It's interesting hearing those stories again because you look back. But again, at the time, I wouldn't say that everybody thought somebody was wrong for the decision they made on, like, if you thought you were wrong, excuse me, you thought you were wrong on the decisions you made, you wouldn't have made the decisions, right? You pick somebody else. It's so easy to look back after the fact and say, well, yeah, no brainer there. Actually, this is true. I don't know if you're joking around or not, but my college coach told me my senior year that the Islanders liked me better than they liked actually than the Rangers did. The Islanders were higher on me. I don't know if you're joking to say that or not, but it's interesting because I remember he said that to me. I was like, really? Because they were, I guess, he told me that after they won the first cup, I think, too. The first year were horrible, and the Panthers with first period play. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. You can squeeze a lot out of a less talented team that plays a real disciplined defensive style of hockey, a coach like Roger Nielsen. But does that help you develop too? I mean, is it better to bring in guys that are not maybe the best defensive players, but let them develop into like 50-goal scorers and stuff? Like I do look back with Herb Brooks even. In my first year, I didn't realize I carried the puck a lot. I had 6 goals, 23 assists. Now, I mean, what was I going to become? Like I wasn't going to be like Ron Grescher or Dave Maloney, but maybe I could have done more offensively. But Herb wanted me to play the defensive game. So you look back and you go, well, how far would I really gotten in the offensive part of the game? Maybe Herb was right. And as it turned out, I'm proud of my career. And Herb played a big role in that too. And because he told me, okay, you basically said, okay, you play this role and you're going to get played in all the defensive situations. So I have a team, but late 90s boring. Not crazy, but fun to see some goals. Yeah, again, that's you're not wrong. For fans, goal scoring is a big thing. For an old defenseman like me, I like the good defensive hockey. So what do we got here? Bruce Levin from Alamo Ranch, Texas. How you doing there, Bruce? Yeah, I can play for the Dallas Stars. Chicago Blackhawks would be a good choice too. You haven't got any coaching. Well, okay, I knew what kind of a mudhead I was when I played. And part of what being a coach is that you can be the best coach in the world. Some guys, some hockey players, and I say it about myself, I'm not trying to pick on today's players, we do some stupid things, right? So to put your hands, even as an agent, I was much more in control. I wasn't going to get fired by everybody. And some players fire you. But I just, I wanted to be in control of my career more. Like I got into broadcasting and actually I really enjoyed that. And I was pretty good at that too. But then I made the decision to be an agent because I could, I realized how much more now how I work better by myself. So hence being divorced twice too. So what does that say about me? Gotta love the NHL store. Has my friend Jersey in the window. Oh, is that dude? Yeah. They know what they're doing. They're good at marketing. Yeah. Surprise series with Vegas up 2-0, right? But again, they're smart. They just make the playoffs and then they put insert a guy like Stone. So imagine like you're basically allowed to make a trade going into the playoffs where you don't take anything off your lineup, but you add a Mark Stone, one of the elite players in the game, skilled character guy. So to me, it's not a surprise. And again, you kind of wonder, okay, is that unfair or not? It's not against the rules. He was injured. He's missed now 2 full seasons because of injuries doing that. So he's sacrificing things. Now, again, he's still getting paid. But I guess if you look back at your career and you've won 2 Stanley Cups because of it, then it worked out all right. I guess, I love playing. That's the only problem, too, for me to sit out for 2 full seasons. No laid line with the Islanders, but they had Launchman like you. Yes, Steve Launchman liked him. Yeah, I remember George. Oh, man, George McPhee. Oh, he gave it to him. And Launchman was a pretty decent fighter, too. And George was like a foot shorter than him, too. I remember watching that fight and dropped him. He had to go down. Usually in a fight, guys don't get hurt. That means they get cut. They get up and get off the ice. But Launchman couldn't get up. But, George, so funny. I saw him in Vegas at the start of the year. We were out there. And he's this frail little guy, in great shape and everything. And you look at him and you think, because you have memories of him in fights and big guys like Nystrom and Tocchet and all these guys he's fighting. Andy Hosmer is a big man too. He's like, I still don't know how he did it really, because he just was like he put his head down a little bit, kind of tuck it in so he didn't get hit in the jaw. But pay me great money. How much does an assistant coach make? Yeah, long hours. Geez, I don't really know for sure. I'm going to guess around $500,000 now. It wasn't like that in the past, but I bet it's up there now. They got so many coaches now too. Look at the bench and this guy's up in the stand still. Okay, the cap was to the advantage. Yeah. And Susan, again, we talked about this before. Where will they change it? I don't know if it's happening enough that they need to change it. Again, that's something that's got to be collectively bargained between Players Association. So if the league comes to the Players Association and wants to change that, the Players Association, and rightfully so, they have the right to do this. They're going to say, okay, what are you giving us back in return? And that may become part of the reason that they don't do it, because maybe the Players Association asks for something that the league doesn't want to give them. And a big part of that may be the escrow. The players don't like the escrow. So what happens is they may set so they don't really know exactly what the revenues are going to be during the season. They're going to have a pretty good estimate. So they'll set the salary cap. Then each team, obviously, there's the big salary cap for the league, and then there's a salary cap for each team. So what they'll do to be sure that the right amount of money, or if it doesn't, or whatever revenues come in, they take escrow out of the player's paycheck, every paycheck. They'll set it at maybe 15%, and then based on what the revenues ultimately come at the end of the season, they then either refund the escrow or the players don't get that back. So they don't, let's say guy's making $10 million. He may only make, $8.5 million because of the escrow. The players don't like that, obviously. Now, that may be one of the things that the league is afraid of. They say, okay, we go to the Players Association and ask to change the CBA. They're going to ask that, okay, we want the escrow adjusted. They may put an escrow on a cap on the escrow. Tell me you can 30 years. So, if they were phasing out the 30-year players, maybe sent to the minors, he found them better. Then late 90s, his 40s, Kirk Miller. They were phasing out the 30-year. Yeah, I mean, guys have just learned to stay in much better shape now. They can play longer, their conditioning's better. You see, yeah. Ariel, I'm making the road trip to Washington. So please don't go. Susan. That was funny. I didn't know where you were going with that. Oh, very good. Why? We won when I went on trips, didn't I? I mean, I think we lost some too when I went on trips before, man. I think they've got me doing something on Sunday. Great Jackie DiPiazza said, probably going to some watch party someplace. I'll let everybody know. Kelly had a career year at age 31, caps with 26. It's about so many guys age 30 were gone earlier. Yeah. Yes, it was. Although, you go back to the old 16 league, there's guys like Gordie Howe obviously played 50 years or something. I don't know how many years he played. Yeah, what's your phase there where the older guys were playing for a long time, and then it was, I think times were changing. I can't really remember all that, but might have been, let me see. Yeah, I thought early 80s might have been salaries and not waiting to play 30-year-old guys. That might have been salaries. Well, yeah, I don't think in the 80s salaries were an issue for getting rid of older players, because even then, at the end of my career, I was playing pretty well. I made $330,000 my last contract last year. So I don't think salaries played a big role into it. I don't remember anybody saying we got to get rid of this guy because he's making too much money. Because you just go to him and say, if they still want him as a player, just go to him. And the contracts were all different back then. The CBA was totally different. So they go to him and just say, I think it's now where you can't take a reduction. As a player on your own roster, I don't think you can reduce his salary. I think that's correct. If free agents obviously can sign for whatever. Well, not whatever. There's a minimum in the league, but yeah. And fitness to me in the regard that with injuries. And I was on a podcast with Terry Ryan. We were talking about this, where it's one thing we get hurt, but then as the years go on, that injury, it's a broken wrist, whatever it is, it never really goes away. Like both my wrists, that full story where I broke both my wrists. So if I go to a push-up now, it's not like I'm trying to be tough, but I have to do it on my knuckles because my wrists don't bend backwards. So I put my hands flat on the ground. Doing the Survivor, we went in for casting in LA. They had this test that we did where they put your hands in the ground and your feet, you're crawling, and you get your butt up in there. They call it, I can't remember what they call it. You crawl around this little obstacle course. And so again, I couldn't get my hands flat on the ground, so I had to do it on my knuckles, and it was in a cement floor. And I really was not trying to be tough. I just was so used to doing that. I didn't think too much about it. So they get these young people watching the test and then scoring it or whatever they're doing. And you could tell they're kind of whispering to themselves after I got done doing it. And so what's going on, guys? And we've never seen that before in our lives. We said, we're crawling around with our knuckles. Something savage. So it's just an example of the injuries. It's not like I'm not different than anybody else that's been hurt. You don't have to be an athlete to do this, but the injuries, like, they just, as you get older, get worse and worse, it seems like. So I think that had part of the reason why in those days, and again, the conditioning was not as good. So as guys got older and they've had injuries with it. Bobby Orr is the best example, right? I hurt his knees. Now, he was playing today with the knee injuries he had. He would have played 20 years because he would have got, the surgeries are much more advanced, the recovery time, and much smarter with all that. So that's amazing, right? Man, what a great player he was. Man, I don't wonder if he ever sits around. I'm sure he's had a great life and he's still a great player, but you got to wonder, like, man, if I could have stayed healthy, like, pretend I'm Bobby Orr saying this, I could have played for wherever the records he would have set for defensemen there. So, let me see. I think Sargent. I think it's Sargent how he's out at age one. Yeah, and that's a shame because, again, I watched him play that 80-81 season again. He was one of those guys where his skating, and again, it was just, and I'm picking on him when I say it, just a lot of you guys were older. Even I'm the same way. We didn't change our training methods. Like, again, Zdeno Chara changed his training methods. Guys that get older now, if they want to continue to play, they change their training methods. They know much more about it. They get their own fitness people, their dietitian, all that kind of stuff, and they're. We just didn't think that way. It was like, okay, I'm getting older, and I guess it's going to be time for me to retire. You didn't want to retire, and you're right. He was not a Herb Burks kind of guy. There's no question. Great player though, man. He was, again, that 80-81 series. Watching those old games, man, he played hard. And I think he didn't play the first two games in LA. Then he came in the lineup and he played with Dukes and Dean Talfus, and they were really good, man. They played well. Dukes is good. I forgot how good Ron Duguay was. And he was weaving in another center, neutral zone, and they're trying to chase him around. He's good. He's got the hair going and everything. He's got that little jump to his skates when he gets going. He was good. That playoff round, he was good. Let's see, watch what before we more Stars game. Still not guys. 10 guys, yeah, that's true. You look back at those old games. Yeah, we had a lot of. There's still a lot of guys that didn't wear helmets. Yeah. You see, Daniel Jones towards these is already running and doing great. Out of war. Gal Saros, Dick Bath, yeah, no question. Daniel Jones. Okay, so are the Giants going to take a quarterback? I like Daniel Jones. He's shown how good he can be. Now, remember, like Eli Manning was the same way. You kind of wondered. I remember going into the first Super Bowl, they interviewed his father, questioned his competition level, and the father goes, "Well, you'll see." He knew his son, obviously, and we saw he won 2 MVPs and 2 Super Bowls, and he was pretty competitive in those. I just think Daniel Jones is good. I think physically, a big guy like that can run. If anything, if they dump too much on his shoulders, and that happens so much now, especially I watch these quarterbacks in the NFL. Even Patrick Mahomes, he didn't play right away. He sat behind, I can't remember who they had there. Pretty good quarterbacks, but they didn't play him right away. We saw it with Lafreniere. Again, those guys like the Matthews and guys, when they come in and play at 18 years old, it's freakish. And now everybody else thinks, okay, well, he did it, so why can't everybody else? Well, not everybody's built the same way. So it goes for hockey players, baseball players, football players. Yeah, I hope they're patient with Daniel Jones, but they're paid to win, so can't do. Yeah, those old school guys, their whole lives they played when Herb came in, it was a whole different way of everything: practices, meetings, games. The style of play. The way he spoke to the players. So, like Freddie Sherwood first started to speak to players at all. Now all of a sudden you got Herb having a meeting every 15 minutes. So this is terrible to say, but and I gotta be careful I say this too, because Mike Alice is a good friend of mine. Part of the issue with a guy like Herb was just let it go in one ear and out the other. Let him say what he wants. But again, not everybody's built the same way. Like Mike admitted himself on our podcast that he probably was too sensitive. But Herb, it could be. I think something that he really, Mike Allison made me think of some of the stuff that Herb said and did. I got talked about this when he took a slap shot at my head in practice one day, and I was being smart ass, but I never had a coach in my head. And he did full on slap shot. He was sort of like 30 feet away. He was going to hit me right in the face, and I put my hand up and grabbed it, and I just kept on screwing around. I put the puck in my mouth and growled at him and threw the puck in the corner and did the drill. I guess because I was getting played, I just never listened to him too much with all the garbage. I mean, listened to him for the X's and O's, and he had some great stings, like, passes come from the heart. So there's a lot of good stuff, but some of his nonsense was just nonsense, right? Like I do remember, and I forgot about this stuff, but now it made me think more where, So he really knew everybody, like what really motivated them. And I didn't ever want a coach to come to me, oh, you okay, Tommy? You okay? Be late in the game. We're playing against the Islanders. There's 30 seconds to go, be up a goal, whatever. So that's my role. I'm supposed to be on the ice. And he'll come down to the bench and literally kick me in the ass and say, get the F out there. And like why would I have to say? Think about it now. Like, why would you have to say it that way? But I just didn't pay attention. I just jumped over the boards and went on. So I think because he wanted to make sure. He showed me that he wanted me on the ice no matter what, even if I was hurt or tired. I was the guy he wanted on the ice in that situation, and that really fired me up. I didn't understand it at the time, but I look back at it now, and I think that's probably his thought process, and I liked it. Yeah, so I just remember kicking me though, like physically kicking me in the rear end. Get the F out there. And he never asked me if I was all right or not, and that fired me up too. I didn't know why it fired me up, but I remember him doing that. I just like fly over the board. So Daniel Jones just used to say, yeah, no, I agree. I heard that. Yeah. But I guess, what is the whole, like, injury prone? I mean, he had 2 injuries, like neck injuries too, right? I think they're both neck injuries. Yeah, Jack's got this going here. Nope, more problem. Joe's nice damage because 2 neck injuries. No, that was neat. Yeah, I can see. I hear you. Yeah. So here's a news flash. Thank God Ira's on the show. Rangers are up 2-0. Man, did we all know that? Thank God Ira is part of the group here. Man. Oh, goodness. Now, do you think he was doing that to be funny, or poor Red House had his knee torn up? Yeah. Alice was never the same. Yeah. What happened was, too, remember, so Mike's first year, Walkichuk got hit in the eye and couldn't play any longer. Phil Esposito retired halfway through the year. And I think Alfie missed a big chunk of time during the regular season, I think. So Mike coming by default, but he earned it. Became the number 1 centerman and really played up to that role too. And he had like 20-some goals and to me, a way underrated defensive player too. Like really good at penalties. But he was a fun guy to play with too, man, because he was hard on himself, but he was relentless and funny guy, man. Us being rookies together, that was fun time there. All right, guys, man, I got to go. Okay, head to Costco. We'll do a video at Costco, okay? And I got to go to the bank too, so we'll have some fun today. Get out. Everybody have a fantastic weekend. Again, 988 is that suicide mental health hotline. We're going to get people on. I didn't get in touch on this before, but I didn't realize I had been part of on the board of this New York Mental Health Association that turned into Vibrant. And they've been given the grant to basically run that 988 hotline. So I didn't realize one of the women that's on that is a good friend of mine. We're going to get her on, Jennifer Ashley. And then she can get on. She's actually the head of the Vibrant itself. And then the woman that actually runs 988, we'll get her on as well. So that'll be a lot of fun. Everybody have a fantastic weekend. Make sure we're helping each other out, staying safe. And you know what? If you want to have a little cocktail and have some fun, don't drink and drive. Some beautiful weather. And let's go Rangers. Everybody have a fantastic weekend.